Alright, time for another draftphysics.com, debatephysics.com, also video presentation. Volume 5 of my reply to I can science that, but he doesn't science anything. He just pronounces the conclusions of the religion authorities. And that's it. Tells us what happens when it doesn't actually happen, and there's no evidence that it happens. 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast. Doesn't happen. They say it happens, but they can't show it happens. Fact. Okay. Yes, it's just all very frustrating and irritating that humans are lousy at reasoning and logic. They just don't have any interest in actually doing the detective work and finding the truth. They want to find woo. Self-aggrandizing, silly shit. Yes, it's shit. There's no point in calling it something else.
No, my job is not to argue with a crank on the internet.
Alright, okay, so it's not your job to respond to simple critiques that state, I don't see it, I don't see the evidence, I don't see that it happens, it seems like a complete fable, a made-up pile of crap, the history shows it's a made-up pile of crap, why do you believe? And instead of telling me why they believe, they just go right around the subject and pretend there is no subject. So, that's it. You ask them what evidence convinces you. They're not going to show you any evidence.
That's not my job.
Likewise, it shouldn't be my job to point out to scientists that they don't have any science in their science. There's no detective work. There's no evidence on the table. They're lawyers. They're going to make an argument about what the truth is, and there's nothing on the table. They're just drawing a gun and calculating a fingerprint. They're not showing that it actually happens in reality. They shoot electrons at a crystal that has no slits in it and call it a double slit experiment. There's no slits.
My job as
they pretend the Eddington experiment wasn't absolute crap, even though the guy who did it said right in his journal, it's absolute crap. The weather sucks. Everything went wrong. Doesn't matter. Those facts are irrelevant.
As an educator, my actual...
No, you're educating. You're a molester of minds. You're a brain molester. It's that simple. And you don't care that what you're saying to kids and what you're teaching them is unevidenced stories. They're fables. You're just telling them Santa Claus stories. You're not telling them the truth.
Job is to provide...
Little puppy will go to puppy heaven. You're just telling little puppy heaven stories.
Young engineers... with the knowledge that we have gathered. And
so again, we have gathered. You didn't gather it. You made it up. You drew it and you calculated it, but you never showed that it actually happens in reality. 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast. Anybody who's lived on this planet any time at all knows this isn't true. It's not true for, heating systems. It's not true for anything. Nothing does this. Nothing does it. Water wheels don't do it. Nothing does it.
And to give them practice with the tools that we have available to us today.
La-di-da, we have a bunch of fake, phony physics, and exactly that. They're not gonna build a quantum computer because they can't. Not because it's hard, because it's impossible.
That kind of thing. In my practice in teaching, it's software, so we don't do physics experiments. We don't do that.
Okay, right. So we simulate it. Yes. So that's how we should have trials. We should just simulate somebody committing the murder and say, see, we simulated them murdering them, so obviously they must have done it because we simulated it. Now, I've actually created a simulation that's all honest. It has basic Newtonian physics in it, and it actually works and duplicates exactly what Maxwell predicted electrons and protons would do if he understood electrons and protons. Charges. Will they review it? No. Will they show it? No. Will they explain how it doesn't work? Because it does.
What we do is we teach how to simulate, right?
Yes, it's just absolute bullshit. We teach to show, we draw Peter Rabbit, and then we draw the Smurfs, and then we draw the Rugrats, and then we draw any other cartoon characters, and we make them in an old little world, and it's just that. It's all synthetic and fake. It doesn't have anything to do with what actually happens in this actual universe.
In software, how to simulate reality in software. So I'll teach the equations, show the equations, and then
and pretend there's 3 times the heat in the ground, or 9 times the heat in the ground, or 25 times the heat in the ground. We'll just simulate it because we can't show you the experiment because it doesn't actually happen. That's why they won't show you the experiment, because it doesn't actually happen, and they never did the experiment. Why don't you simulate 2 cars one going 100 miles an hour into a brick wall, one going 50 miles into a brick wall? Why don't you simulate it and show us how the car crushes 4 times? And then I'll just show the video where it doesn't.
Show how to program those to get a simulation that looks like reality.
Yeah. It
right?
Doesn't look like reality. That's the whole point. It doesn't match reality. I turn the nozzle on the garden hose and I make free energy. That's not reality.
And if it doesn't look like reality, it's not acceptable. If it
so bullshit. So that's just a plain old ordinary lie. No surprise, physicists lie all the time. Crystals are double slit experiments. Well, no, they're not.
doesn't match reality, it's not acceptable. So
they said it twice, and it's just such a lie.
It has to be based on equations that match reality.
And where the whole point is you have an equation, 1/2 mv squared. You showed no evidence when it was stated, no experimental evidence. You showed no evidence 50 years later, and then you showed no evidence 100 years later, and then you showed no evidence 150 years later, then you showed no evidence 200 years later, and you never have shown any evidence.
And that's what my job is.
Your job is to lie to children. Marvelous.
To help people learn where those are, and more importantly, to learn where to find.
Amazing. Yeah, where to find the experiments that don't exist that I'm supposed to do. They don't exist because they haven't done them, and I'm supposed to do them. So I'm supposed to do these simple experiments, like just take an elephant, take a heavy mass and crash it into a scale at 1 mile an hour, and then take a small mass and crash it into the scale at 1 mile an hour, and see if they weigh their proportional weights. And if they do, you've just duplicated gravity. Have they done that experiment? No. Because it's junk science.
Find that information, because one of my big mantras in my classroom is not to try to memorize these things. It's not about memorizing.
Well, I think you do have to memorize the formulas, or they're kind of useless, because then you have to look them up all the time. 1/2 mv squared, that one's not too hard to memorize. And it's crap.
It's about understanding how to apply principles and knowing.
It's too bad that you don't teach them that you should see it. If they're going to claim it, they should be able to show it to you.
How to go and find reliable reference material. Go find reliable reference material so that you don't have to memorize what the energy stored in the spring formula.
So he wants to say the energy stored in the spring formula, which again was Hooke's law, which was invented before mv squared, which, so it's not relevant. It's not an mv squared formula.
Is. It's not going to be on my final exam. If you
It's just scary to wonder what is on his exam.
want to know, if I ask you to simulate a spring, which I might do, I have done, simulate a spring, you're going to need to know that. And so,
Okay, please, simulate a spring. Please do that. And then we can watch it wobbling more after the experiment when you launch the light thing than when you launch the heavy thing. We can actually watch the spring and how much energy it still has in it. Einstein. And then use a plunger with the spring. That would be even better. And then you can simulate the momentum consumed by the object that isn't going to be launched.
what are you going to do is know where you can find reliable information on that.
Yeah, why don't you simulate a lever? You know, because you got the weight of the lever. It's a real issue. You got to move the lever. Okay, it's going to consume some of the energy, but why don't you simulate it and show how it doesn't conserve momentum? You know, that I put a 2 mass going 1v in one side and I only get a 1 mass going 1.4 out the other side. Why don't you show us your formula at work? Simulate it. You know, with real, actual, evidence-based, okay, equations instead of ones you made up.
And frankly, I'll tell you where not to look.
You know, do momentum and then do kinetic energy and show us how the momentum model fails and the kinetic energy model that doesn't conserve momentum is right.
Right? Or you can go and find some very incorrect information, and you do have to watch out for that. On the internet these days,
Yeah, and you're a perfect example of how the internet is broken because there's no accountability. All of you cowards run away from your obligation to demonstrate what you claim.
the signal to noise ratio on the internet has always been bad. It's getting worse.
Yes, and you're an example, perfect example.
So that is one of the big challenges that we have to watch out for.
Right, 350 years of a claim with no evidence. And a ton of counter evidence in the sense that guns don't obey Newton's third law. It's fact. Don't obey it. All right. Ballistic pendulums, no kinetic energy collected. Rocket engines, no kinetic energy collected. Levers, pulleys, no kinetic energy reasonably conserved if you conserve the momentum. So if you conserve momentum, you can't conserve the kinetic energy. Fact. Paid no attention by these people. And you can go on. Gears, hydraulics, all of it. None of it fits kinetic energy.
As long as I'm off on a tangent here,
That's your pretty tangential. That should be your middle name and your first name and your last name. Tanny, tangential. That should be your name.
one of the exam questions that I do give is, and maybe it's a little mean, but
Don't hit any subject directly. Just always find some angle to bounce off of it with.
I ask the students to simulate something, and I tell them, you know, what the name of the principle is, and then they go and they Google that principle and they find a tutorial on it and follow it. And yeah, that's allowed during my exam, to go and find reference material, because that's what I'm really teaching, right? How to find.
Yes, how to go to Wikipedia and see what the group thinkers say. Momentum is an energy. You can't convert newtons into joules. Well, you can, but you can't. You can't. Yeah, that's the rule. You can't. Sort of can, but you sort of can't. That's science. Yeah, tough, isn't it? Yeah, science is tough. there's a lot of this can stuff in it, where you can do it, but you can't do it. Wave particle, entangled, besmangled. There's all kinds of little goods here. Science. We say so. Hilarious. Neutrino.
Good reference material. And that's really the exam. It's kind of a trap because
oh brother, so this is a response video somehow to my arguments.
if you Google it, the first hit you get is wrong. They've got a mistake in it. I am asking the students, I'm testing them, can they find that mistake and adapt to it? In software simulations, that's a common problem. The published information, particularly on the internet, is often inaccurate or incomplete. There isn't a whole lot of motivation for us.
Yeah, there's absolutely no evidence for anything. Everything is speculation with no corroborating evidence. No, let's do the Eddington experiment from space. None of that kind of science. Again, just for the future audience, how many years will it be before they finally do the experiment from space? There's no Joule tanks in existence anymore that are being used by any scientist. So a perfectly valid way to measure energy has been thrown away by science. And a perfectly good experiment for demonstrating the bending of light, which is a profound argument to make. No force ever in any other experiment ever interacts with another force. You always have to have the conduit of matter to make force affect a force. And yet, magically, light is affected by gravity. And not just affected, it's affected twice as much as regular matter. I mean, that's an extraordinary claim. And what's their extraordinary evidence? Oh, they don't have any extraordinary evidence. What's their ordinary evidence? An experiment where the guy admits, I wouldn't stake my life on these results. Yeah, that's not even ordinary evidence. That's smordinary. That stinks as evidence. The experiment where the guy says, I wouldn't stake my life on these results. That's not the kind of experiment you publish. That's the kind you say, oh shucks, bad luck.
To publish our final results to the internet. So,
I mean, one of the Eddington experiments was just so bad because they actually did it at a 3 o'clock eclipse. So it's way down in the atmosphere. So they knew going in, it's crap. It's not going to happen. And they did it anyway.
Yeah, and it's a fast-moving field, so we're doing lots and lots of people are creating lots and lots of simulations of things and doing lots of research to get that to work.
And it's sad because all of it is not fact-based. It's not based on. It's not duplicating what happened as it happened. It's duplicating what happens by just completely making it up happening, forcing it to happen.
But most of us don't bother to publish the final results. We'll often publish our halfway result.
Oh, whatever. What have you published? I have to go see what he has published.
When we're like, oh yeah, this is what I'm working on right now. And, we'll often publish that. And then we'll put our heads down and really finish it. And by then...
I mean, it's pretty simple. I could say to you, I mean, I did 100 videos on Steve Mold's lever paradox video. And it's pretty simple to look it up, lever paradox. And he claims that levers don't conserve momentum, that the law of the lever doesn't work. I mean, you think you would be intrigued by such a statement, that we have a perfect example of the non-conservation of momentum. So why don't you go investigate? And then you'll see right in his own video he concedes that pulleys do conserve momentum. Magically.
It's done now. I'm not going to publish that. So, that's a problem. Anyway, tangent over. Let's see where even he was.
They've done hundreds of videos on YouTube. Not one of them stuck a thermometer in the fucking pendulum. Not one. And that's their good science. They claim it's a gigantic amount of heat. And they won't stick a thermometer in the damn thing.
Why don't you do that?
Why don't I do it? Because I don't have a ballistic pendulum. Professor Lewin has one. So why doesn't he do it? He's done the experiment. He did the experiment over and over again. You know, every year he'd do it over and over again for 2 different classes. So at least twice a year he would do the experiment. Why never a thermometer?
Go for it.
All right. To assess how much heat is absorbed. Right. Yeah. So why didn't Professor Lewin use a thermometer?
He wasn't measuring that.
He was claiming it, so why wouldn't you measure what you're claiming? That's like saying it goes twice as fast, but I'm not going to film it going twice as fast. Why wouldn't you film it going twice as fast? If you're going to claim it's going twice as fast, why don't you film it going twice as fast? If you're going to claim there's 1900 joules of heat in the damn thing, why don't you stick a thermometer in there? Because the fact is, it's not there. That's why, but whatever. No point in arguing with why there's no evidence. The reason why there's no evidence is because it doesn't work. The reason why we don't have the Eddington experiment from space is because they did try it and it didn't work. So they just said, oh, something went wrong. It didn't come out our way. And so they didn't say anything about it because it didn't come out their way. Simple answer.
Right? It was your idea to measure that, not his. Why don't you do it?
Okay, so again, why don't I do all the physics they haven't done? I should redo all of Rutherford. I should redo all of Newton. I should redo all the experiments with them done. And on top of that, I should do all the new ones. Because physics can't do them. I mean, it's so lame and evasive. It's such a cop-out. We don't have to provide evidence. We just preach. That's all they're saying. They're saying to the guy who believes in a shark god on some island, you know, they're just throwing the Bible at him and saying, you have to believe it. And then he's saying, well, you have to believe in my shark god. You know, it's just such bullshit. All right, and watch out for the heat being dissipated while you're trying to measure. Maybe insulate it first to help. So he apparently doesn't even know what a joule tank is, which is hilarious. I mean, that's hilarious. So he has paid so little attention to the actual history, he doesn't even know what joule is famous for. Yeah, duh. An insulated water tank. Yeah, duh. Oh, amazing. And again, the whole reason Joule invented the Joule tank is because he couldn't find a way to measure energy that had any credibility. Every one of the experiments was completely fudgeable and bullshit. You know, especially, you know, dropping shit down wells and picking up horses, you know, that kind of crap. Yeah. He's like, what the fuck? That's not a way to measure energy. Fuck you. There's absolutely no evidence that the pendulum even gets warm to the touch. So, fuck you.
I don't know. I mean, I know that nails get hot when I hammer.
Yeah, so he did it again with the silly nail things. Nails don't keep moving either, do they? No, the pendulum keeps going back and forth. You know. Hilarious.
Them. I've definitely noticed that. Anyone who's ever built anything with nails and a hammer.
Right, and it's go see. So he can't even make an analogy to an experiment that's analogistic. He's really just saying, here, I can shoot a car that doesn't hit a brick wall and have a car hit a brick wall. Yeah, those are two fundamentally different experiments, retard. Oh, Jesus.
I would agree. Nails get hot. And I used to think, oh, that's just friction, right? It's just friction.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's just the nail making contact with the surface and forcing it to be moved and broken, and the fibers broken. All kinds of energy has to be expended to do all of that mechanical work. How is that analogistic?
And then somebody pointed out, no, it's not. Actually, it's because you're banging on it. You can just...
Oh, really? Is that all it is? It's because you're banging on it. So if I hit the nail and make it move, it'll get just as hot. If I hit it with a hammer on a glass surface, the nail will get just as hot. Yeah, not even close, moron. That's like saying the Newton cradle. You know, I make the two balls bounce into each other and they're free to bounce away. That they'll get just as hot as if I force them not to move and they burn a piece of paper. Obviously not, because I'm allowing the linear momentum to continue on its way. If I allow the linear momentum to keep going, I'm not going to create heat, because the momentum's in the motion. If the momentum's in the motion, then it can't be in the wood or in the clay.
bang on things. And
so again, this is all back to Descartes. They just don't think the Descartesian rule of conservation is true. That there's a certain amount of energy in the universe and it's just in a different place, you know, day to day. But you could name each little piece of the energy, give it all a name, and it's going to be around for billions of years. It's never going anywhere. It's just going to go from here to there, to there, to there, to there. It's not going to leave the universe.
they get hot. That's known. It is known. Try it.
Okay, fuck you, lying sack of crap. Overall, I see you asking lots of questions here, but it doesn't really seem you've tried very hard to find answers. It's not my job to prove your theory. It's your job to prove it. Again, they're lawyers in a case, and they're saying, I don't need fingerprints, I don't need DNA, I don't need a gun, I don't need a photograph of the scene, I don't need a damn piece of evidence. I'm just going to tell you he's guilty. That's how shyster this is physics. It's exactly the opposite of what physics is supposed to be, science is supposed to be. Science is supposed to be like Darwin. Here's the evidence. See, I can breed sheep, I can breed pigeons, I can breed even, barnacles, and then I can have bird beaks, and I can have all these kind of different things, peacocks, and I can give you explanations for why those feathers exist. And it's no good reason, okay? The reason sucks. And he'll spell it all out for you. Turtles with long necks, turtles with short necks. He'll explain every little bit of it, why this thing looks the way it does.
Prove it to who? Who? My job to prove it to you?
Oh, no, your job to prove it, period. Your job to have evidence. God damn, what a weasel. I mean, to make it mysterious that somehow science doesn't have to be well evidenced. They can just make up a story, and as long as suckers believe it, it's okay. Again, we're all the way back to Deschardelet and the silly experiment that all the scientists should have been able to see through, and they couldn't. Because they didn't actually see it. You know, they all wrote to each other about some experiment, and they didn't realize that, they're just denting the surface of the clay? Oh, fake fraud.
Good luck with that. No one can prove anything.
Okay, so nobody can prove anything with non-evidence. That's true. So yes, I'm not susceptible to an unevidenced argument. I'm not a religious asshole. You are.
You, because you won't accept.
Liar. Show me where I didn't accept the good evidence. Show me the good piece of evidence, right? So if you want to, again, rely on the cranks and their shitty experiments, they will be proven wrong, and then what will be your penance? Because you basically are arguing for flat earth science. Their experiments are that bad. You haven't watched them. Have you? No. You haven't in any way verdied these experts. You didn't sit there and interrogate these experts, did you? Did you ask them, do you believe in conservation? Do you believe in the law of the lever? Do you believe in Hooke's law? Go ask them.
Any form of proof.
So lie. I mean, it's just so, to sit there and say that, well, it's enough evidence to convince me. You don't need any evidence. That's the absolute fact. You've been given none, and you believe without evidence, and that's the truth. You're a religious shit.
It is my job to prove it to the students in the classroom.
Well, how do you prove it to them? My teachers didn't prove it to me, and that's why I don't believe. It's because they didn't prove anything. They said a photon's doing this here wacky shit. There's no evidence it's doing all that wacky shit.
Then I ensure that I get that job done, right?
Oh, whatever. You ensure that you propagandize for bullshit. Just a pathetic liar. Continuing, so we can get through this.
If anyone has questions, we'll go into it as far as we need to go. As far as someone who is truly inquisitive that wants to know, we'll go as far as we can. I always say I could take you from 1 + 1 = 2.
Okay, this is just, again, drivel, right? We're talking about real experiments never performed. Not performed. I mean, they haven't done the lever experiment. They haven't done the, the example of, they haven't shown anything taking 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast. There's just no evidence. They haven't crashed cars. They haven't done anything. And he keeps talking about, we'll show it and we'll explain it. But he's showing nothing and explaining nothing. And it's just so dishonest. It's so unscientific. This is the definition of science now. It's just absolute crap. Do you really think Rutherford and Newton would be impressed by your science? They didn't believe without evidence.
All the way up through this stuff. It may take quite a while, right?
I mean, they certainly didn't preach anything until they could demonstrate it. I mean, Newton had all kinds of thoughts about gravity, but he didn't sit there and preach them.
15, 20 years to make that progress. But I think we can go a lot faster, right? We can skip the stuff that we all agree on.
This is whatever this is. What's he talking about? You can show people evidence at a trial, or you can just do this. You can just talk about how trials are so important and you really have to get those guilty people convicted. And so if you really want to fix society, you need to convict the guilty, that guy. And, evidence just gets in the way. So let's not bother with evidence. Let's just talk about how he looks. That's their science. That's their lawyering. That's their justice. That's their way of seeing the world. Absolute crap.
We can all agree on addition, subtraction, multiplication. We can skip that part. Right? Whatever we agree on, we can skip up through that part.
Let's speed this up. Maybe.
But you can't just skip over the parts you don't like and then say that they're false, which is...
and where's the evidence? I'm just saying, I'm saying go ahead, show me something else besides that piece of garbage. You can't do better than the soda cracker matchbook car experiment. You can't do better than the stuff duct taped together.
That's all you've got, right?
That's all you've got. And you didn't have that before those cranks. I'm asking to see what convinced you. What evidence convinced you? And there was no evidence that convinced you. You're just a believer. You have faith.
You say, no, that's false. Prove it to me. And then when someone patiently
so this just
sits down...
This is such a lie. That's all I'm asking. I'm asking you to take the temperature of the ballistic pendulum. I'm telling you, you're going to say there's 9 times the heat in the ground. I'm saying, well, you should be able to prove that. 9 times is significant. You should be able to prove there's 9 times.
Look, let's go through these principles one by one.
There's no evidence. There's no principle. Without evidence, there's nothing.
Step by step until we get there.
I'm arguing the evidence. You're arguing garbage.
You just say it's gibberish. You say it's what else do you say?
Oh, what are you going to say? So where did you do the lever experiment? Okay, you haven't done it. Okay, Steve Mold drew a conclusion, didn't do anything. No experiment. So it's just absolute crap. You're just selling crap. And then you don't have any explanation for, well, yeah, I mean, guns have been around a long time. They don't obey Newton's third law. What's your explanation? I mean, the kinetic energy certainly doesn't obey Newton's third law.
Is evasive, and you call us liars.
Well, it's a fact that you're liars. I have the evidence and the proof, because you keep claiming there's evidence and there isn't any. Fact.
Right. So that's why. That's where we are, right? This is the...
Yes, this is where we are. I ask, why wouldn't you do the Eddington experiment from space? It's dirt simple, dirt cheap. Why hasn't it been done?
The reality of science denial, probably always.
Yeah, so there's no point, right? I mean, it's we've proven through all of this video that he has no evidence because he linked to no evidence. So there's nothing in all of this time could I show you an experiment and show you the event happening. He linked to an image of a projectile launcher that proves absolutely nothing. The experiment you can do with it will not prove kinetic energy is conserved.
It's probably human nature, part of human nature to be this way, and the internet just gives us a way to express it.
I'm asking you to show me some fucking evidence, and you can't. I say it again and again and again, and they won't do it. They won't do it. Manage some real evidence. Not little denting clay with round objects, not gimmicks.
Right. The irony, right? The irony. As he says, show me some evidence, he immediately follows it with an explanation of some evidence that he has already seen.
Oh, right. So he doesn't talk about the Deschardelet experiment. So go ahead and explain how it's credible. I'm just saying the physics is obvious. It's a pointy arrow and a dull arrow, and the morons are arguing that the pointy arrow has more energy. It's that obvious. And he won't admit it. He won't concede the point and say, yes, that was a crap experiment. So all experiments that agree with him are pristine and perfect. All the ones that don't agree with him, like the Mythbusters, well, there's all kinds of flaws and all kinds of explanations. It's just clear hypocrisy. He won't say the words that we need better evidence. He won't say those words. The evidence sucks for both sides, for any argument, because there's no experiments. Nobody's done the fucking things. I mean, it's just amazing.
And has already decided to reject, right?
Lie some more. So go ahead, I'll show the milk carton experiment, okay, that just is so obviously illogical and poorly reasoned, and it's still up as a video proving something. It proves that experiments can be shenaniganed. That's all it proves. You can deceive people.
Dented clay. I don't even know about the dented clay thing. This is...
So, okay, he doesn't know anything about the history of 1/2 mv squared. He knows absolutely nothing about it. Doesn't care what the origin of the Holy Ghost is. The origin is the whole story. The whole story is where did this poof into the narrative? Why the fuck would this poof into the narrative? What lunatic said, well, let's have God, and then we'll have Jesus, and we'll have some ghost. Yeah, ghosts are really cool. Let's have a ghost. And a hobgoblin. The holy hobgoblin. It'll be fun.
Apparently something he's read about from science history. I don't know about that.
Okay, he's supposed to be a physicist, and he doesn't know about the decisive experiment in popularizing mv squared. I mean, it was v squared then. There was no half. V squared. This is what popularized it.
I'd be happy to hear about that.
The Eddington experiment popularized Einstein. You see, there's a huge connection between these things.
Maybe even hear about why that's not good evidence. I don't know. But, the irony of screaming.
Yeah, the irony of him saying, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. The origin's smorigin.
Show me some evidence. Oh, and not this other evidence, right? Show me some evidence, but not the evidence
Right, so he's doubling down. He says these amateurs doing these silly experiments in the sense that Matchbook's car with 4 pounds on it crashed into a cracker. These experiments we must believe in. And that's just like flat earth science, isn't it? They manipulate an experiment and force a result out of it, and we're all supposed to fall for that? You don't fall for it. Why should I fall for that?
That I already have. I need evidence, but not that evidence. It's
Okay, I mean, you really are provoking me, so, that's fine. Go ahead, provoke me to duplicate the experiment without all the mistakes they make and prove it. Okay. You really are provoking the argument. You won't do the experiment. Your physics won't do the experiment. A bunch of trolley cranks who are insanely unreliable in the experiments they publish. I mean, one asshole, right? He got the result that was right in between. Like, momentum would have been 12. Kinetic energy would have been 16. He got 14 and claimed victory. Claimed a decisive victory. That's the kind of asshole you're defending, fucker.
It's amusing to me.
It's frightening to me. It's just goddamn scary that the guy is basically saying, let's let the carnival freak showers make museums and make encyclopedias and define the truth. Shysters, connivers. They should be doing science. Overall, I see a question. I have some answers for you right here. Yeah, fuck you. Not even close to an answer. I will now sit back and wait to see how you react to those answers. They're not answers. You didn't say a motherfucking thing about any of the subjects. You didn't explain how you can knock more pins down with the same momentum.
I'm sorry, I'm not up on bowling.
Oh, so he did it again. He's not up on a mass moving a velocity hitting objects that will absorb its energy. He's not up on that. It's too complex a concept. You have to wear bowling shoes to be able to even contemplate bowling. You have to put your bowling shoes on. What the fuck? I'm not up on. I mean, it's just a ridiculous answer. That somehow you have to go bowling to understand the physics of a bowling ball hitting the pins. If you don't go bowling, you won't understand the concept. Amazing bullshit.
But I did talk about springs. I talked about
and you talked about them as if you have some sort of knowledge of them, and you have done it all. So again, I have a spring video on the debatephysics.com. It's only a 5-minute video or so, 7 minutes maybe, and it explains why springs are really good at collecting energy, really bad at giving it back. Just like a tennis ball. Compresses very well, expands poorly, and the wobble is the giveaway. It leaves doing this. Okay, its linear motion is fucktarded because it's doing a bunch of this. So it's the same thing as making arguments about why would they have a low friction cart with little tiny metal wheels? Why would you put little tiny metal wheels on your cart? The smaller the wheel radius, the more momentum the wheel will collect.
about generating power in a battery, right? Talked about those. Talked about heat.
I didn't. You talked about it and you didn't show any example of anything having to do with 25 times for 5. No examples. No electric example is going to work because obviously voltage isn't squared. So there's just no hope. You're not going to be able to show how electricity does any of this crap because it doesn't.
Heat, momentum, energy, electricity. I'm sorry, I don't know about bowling. It's not my thing.
So amazing. The most elemental physics you can get. A mass hitting another mass. You can't get. It's a collision experiment. he doesn't know, he can't relate to a collision experiment. I have two bowling balls. One of them has twice the momentum. Twice the energy, but they have exactly the same momentum. I went through the whole calculation. I mean, when they hit the pins, they lose the proportional amount of momentum. So if the pin leaves with 4 units of momentum, the ball lost 4 units of momentum. So there's no way to make it any different. There has to be the same amount of pins moving using both balls. It doesn't make any difference. And that's why bowlers don't use 8-pound bowling balls, is because it's not twice the energy.
Again, conservation of momentum, not a new concept.
Okay, so just talk around it. Yeah, it's a non-conservation of kinetic energy. Kinetic energy does no work. So again, their definition of kinetic energy says something about it doing work, and in every single example, the kinetic energy does 0 work. 0. No evidence that it does anything to make something actually move. And all they keep saying is heat. Deformation is irrelevant, by the way, right? So he's a physicist, and I have to explain to him how deformation doesn't mean anything, because deformation always ends up producing heat. You can't deform it without losing, and the deformation stops. It happens and then it stops. And as soon as it stops, the energy is somewhere else. And the only other place it could be is in heat. That's the whole principle of the joule tank. It doesn't matter. You can move this, do that, slosh the water, and in the end, it's all going to turn into heat.
Not in dispute. We agree with conservation
of
momentum.
Oh, brother. I mean, it's just idiotic. We don't agree, because you say the lever conserves, you say springs conserve kinetic energy. So we don't agree. Levers, you say they conserve kinetic energy. So we don't agree, because momentum is destroyed.
That's a thing.
It's the same fucking momentum. It's just amazing. So he just says we agree. Momentum has to be conserved. And then he'll propose experiments where it's not conserved. What sense can that possibly make to anybody? They're all answers easily and readily given without insults. You didn't say anything, jackass. What response will I get? You'll get what you should get. You're religious shit. What should I respond to religious shits who say I have to believe because they're an idiot? I'm an idiot, so you must be an idiot. That's offensive. I'm not an idiot. I can reason. I can do logic. And I can smell duality and smell that it's bullshit.
Yeah, that's tacked on there at the end, and it seems to me like, I don't know, it seems like maybe he didn't read this before replying. But yeah, this is pretty much what I expected. I have offered no insult. I've made no accusations.
And you've provided no evidence and no reasoning and no logic and shown no integrity.
I was even willing to entertain that perhaps his hypothesis was correct. And
but he won't do that anymore because somebody said a booger word. So that's even funnier, right? He's claiming I was willing to entertain the fact that maybe our physics is under evidenced, but I gave it all up because he said a poopy word. Hilarious. I mean, that's just so fucking funny. It's so fucking dishonest.
Going down that route of like, what would that mean? How could we test it, etc.? And the response to that was, as you see here,
That's not what you said to me. You didn't. Where did you say anywhere to me? Yeah, this is probably some good place to investigate because there appears to be a void of good evidence. So maybe we can come up with a good experiment. I've had those conversations with physicists. And every single time, okay, they won't do the experiment. So physicist Michael, he went to the extraordinary effort to make a nice lever, launcher, the whole thing. And then when it came to doing the critical experiment, that is the one mass moving twice the velocity, he says, I think my little plastic cart might get a boop on it. And so might get a boo-boo. So I'll put a blob of clay right on the elastic stick. I'll put a blob of clay on what is supposed to be an elastic experiment. Hilarious, right? So the critical experiment didn't happen, unfortunately. Then he bought a giant Newton's cradle, and he was going to do the free momentum experiment and prove it. Well, it wobbled, and so he's going to fix that. And then he shut up forever. The end. Experiment never done. Yeah. Your fans, the people you're supporting, do this all the time. The Brozo, he's famous for it. I did the experiment, this guy came out with perfect results. Well, I'm not going to publish them. What, you want to see them? Oh, no, you don't need to see it.
Pure bile. Fun, isn't it? This is the world we live in.
Get a fuck you, because it's not an answer to the question. It's just arrogant, obnoxious, pontificating, childish, patronizing crap. How many times did you write, it's a Newton, it's a Newton, it's a Newton? Does it matter? Does it matter? Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. Is it relevant? Is it relevant? Is it relevant? No. It's a quantity of energy, you fuck.
Newtons are not quantities of energy.
So again, it's just, yes, you could convert them directly right into joules, but they're not quantities of energy. So again, this is the duplicity. He concedes you can convert a Newton into a joule, and yet he says it's not the same thing. The joule that you made out of a Newton isn't the same joule as the joule you made out of a joule, or you made out of a Newton moving. So the moving Newton joule isn't the same as the non-moving multiple of 10 newtons. It's just ridiculous.
Energy is defined to be force times distance.
Okay, so again, and the simple argument is that doesn't work. I mean, clearly it doesn't work in space, right? I mean, I apply twice the force, I get twice the velocity, it goes twice the distance. Clearly it doesn't work, doesn't come out, velocity squared doesn't come out right.
Work is defined to be force times distance.
Okay, so there's no point in saying work is defined to be when there's no force and no distance. So you didn't create any force distance. You created heat, you're saying, in every single case. So show me where kinetic energy equals heat. Because that's all it ever creates. It never creates work.
Work is energy. That's a definition, right? That's just a definition.
Well, whatever. Yeah, it's just a piece of crap. It's like saying there's UFOs. It's just a statement. I don't have to have evidence. There's extraterrestrials. They visited. Somebody said so. So, yeah, let's all believe it. That's his physics. That's his science.
Force is therefore not the same as energy. Right?
A joule isn't a joule isn't a joule. Okay. A horse isn't a horse, of course, because a joule isn't a Newton, of course. I mean, what a pile of shit. Oh.
I mean, I hope that's not condescending or patronizing.
It's just arrogant, obnoxious shit talking, and that's all it is. It's nothing. It's not science. It's not going to feed anyone who's science hungry. Your drivel is not food to anybody seeking truth.
I don't think that's insulting. That's just the definition. Anyone who didn't know that, there's no insult.
Yeah, there's just a definition. The Holy Ghost is called the Holy Ghost. It's just a definition of the Holy Ghost. I don't have to show anything. The Holy Ghost is defined as the Holy Ghost.
Intended.
What more do you need? I mean, there's pictures of the... Well, there isn't really pictures, but... I mean, you can imagine there's 3 people sitting on the throne, and one of them is God, and then there's the Holy Ghost, and then there's little Jeebus over here. What's your problem? Why don't you believe?
right? This is stuff we learned in physics class. If you haven't taken physics class or you don't remember.
Oh, fuck you in the ass. Again, patronizing. I've watched more physics lectures than you. I obviously know more about the history of the physics than you do. I've obviously read more physics books than you have.
Physics class, that's okay, right? And just ask, right? Just ask. A force is measured in newtons. Newton is one of the units that you can use to measure force.
You piece of scum.
But energy is not force.
How dare you? How dare you do this bullshit? Quit lying to people, okay? Don't say you can convert newtons into joules and then say you can't. Fuck that, idiot. That's lying. That's being a bullshitter. No point in saying you can convert them and then say it's not the same thing.
Energy is force times distance. So we're going to need a force unit like a newton and a distance unit like a meter.
Keeps talking about this like it's not a joule, right? We don't have a joule. So it's the fact is the joule is the measurement of the absolute energy. That's what the joule was invented for, is to measure the absolute quantity. And if I can convert the newtons into joules, then okay, I've created the same absolute quantity. So just keep lying, fucker.
All right, foot pounds. Foot pounds is fine. Newton meters is fine. Anything. But, it has to be a distance unit and a force unit.
Okay, so I did point out that Richard Feynman actually in his lecture says this is one of the biggest problems with science, is that it has all these silly ways to say exactly the same thing. It's a quantity, all right, and it's a measurable quantity, and it should be one unit that we talk about the quantity in.
If you mix up your units, it can't be the same thing.
All right, so there's no point. There's no mixing up. There's just a straight-on conversion that's perfectly legal, and you're pretending it's illegal while you say it is legal. You're a lying, duplicitous piece of shit. Shit. It's just so bad. Oh. All right. Yeah, this asshole did the same thing. Considering what you said about driving a car in the beginning, it seems that you still don't understand what kinetic energy means. It's magical fun to rub on your hiney energy. The kinetic energy of a car does not tell you how much energy the car consumes at that speed. Well, it actually does. Maintaining a speed isn't any different than accelerating to a speed.
Okay, this is someone else's comment now, but gosh, I'll respond anyway. This Bobby person is correct.
Oh, amazing. He's not correct at all. So again, just lie some more. It obviously doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whether you're measuring it as it's sailing, continuing to move, or if you measure it from 0 to 50 miles an hour. Do both experiments. Doesn't matter. This 25 times will not happen. Ever.
No, the energy 1F mv squared is not the energy it takes to maintain a speed. It is the amount of energy.
Okay, so again, what is maintaining a speed? Right? I mean, in space, it doesn't take anything to maintain the speed, and you never do the 4 times the distance thing. So in space, you twice the velocity, just twice the distance. So obviously we can't do this experiment in space because we have to actually extract the energy from the thing. So obviously when a car is going down the highway, why does it have to keep pushing on the gas pedal? Well, because of friction. So you're heating the road, and you're causing a bunch of air to be compressed. So you have two things that are absorbing your energy. So those two things you have to fight against by continuing to use the accelerator. So it's perfectly analogous to, it'd be better without the air resistance because that one isn't proportional. But the friction is.
That was put in to get to that speed. Maintaining a speed in a car means that you're constantly losing energy to aerodynamic drag, rolling resistance.
Right, so he probably made this before I responded to that. No, I did respond to it because I'm reading it. So I'm obviously going to point out, go ahead and do the experiment, accelerate to 50. He could do it with his electric car right now. He could do the experiment, find out whether accelerating to 50 uses 25 times the electricity.
So the rolling resistance and the aerodynamic drag are siphoning off your energy.
Exactly. So that's the thing you're measuring. That's the force you're using as a counter force to measure how much energy it takes.
And you have to replace it. So you have to continue pushing again.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to push more when you're going 50 miles an hour than you have to push when you're going 10 miles an hour, obviously. And in some cases, substantially more. So 50 miles an hour, the air pressure is being a little bit onerous. Now the friction's getting lighter. So the frictional force is reducing, but the air pressure force is increasing. So that's the catch. So there's a little bit of dirt in the experiment. But it's not enough dirt to miss 25 times. The dirt is 25.5. Okay, it's a 0.5 amount of dirt in the experiment. So if you get a result of 4.8, okay, instead of 25, yeah, okay, you can say the dirt is why you're a little bit lower. And it's a fact, that's how it's going to come out. It's actually going to come out that you're going to use less than 5 times the energy, not 25 times the energy. You're going to use less than 5. Everybody knows that's the truth because everybody who's done any highway driving knows how easy it gets, how much better your gas mileage gets.
The wind to maintain your speed. I kind of thought everybody knew that.
All right, this is not a physicist. It's just this. This is so stupid. He doesn't even understand this simple premise that all you're doing is looking for something to fight against. To do your measurement, you always have to do it against something. You have to do it against some kind of ruler. News flash. Okay, because you're losing the energy to friction, you have to keep on putting more energy in.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we agree.
Yeah, oh yeah, we agree. It's perfectly valid to do the experiment either way. They both have variables that, dirty them up a little. But they don't dirty them enough to miss this 25 time thing. The air resistance and the friction keep absorbing it, and you have to keep putting it in.
Yeah.
Asshole.
Oh, see,
this asshole just said this guy was right. And now he's agreeing that he's wrong. You see the duplicity? I mean, he just can't be honest, ever.
We get the rude remark for an agreement.
You're not agreeing with him, you fuck. You just said you agree with me that the experiment is valid because there are forces you're fighting. You just agreed with me. Oh, fuck. Did you see him do that? He says he agrees with the crank. I'm opposing the crank. Use the argument that, well, you're an idiot because, yes, it's still a valid experiment. To coast at 50 still requires you to put energy in. It's not free. You don't go 50 miles an hour forever for free. It tells you how much energy was used to get to that speed. So again, it's just a lie that experiment in any way demonstrates anything. Okay, so go ahead. And I said right in my video, I said right here. I did state in another video, it doesn't.
He's not going to read it. I'm going to read it. I like this line right here from Bob A. You are not just ignorant. You are aggressively ignorant. When people point out how you were wrong, you ignore it and
Okay, let's see if he's going to read Let Me Say My Part.
Refuse to learn. It's no wonder everything they say sounds like gibberish to you.
Right, and this is the guy who just said something wrong, okay, that somehow it's not a valid experiment to coast something at 50 and coast something at 10. That is, maintain those speeds. And that somehow that's not a valid experiment when that experiment will, in fact, force you to use energy. You'll have to keep resupplying it.
So yeah, that's not my words, but they're good words.
You're a cunt. There. Those aren't my words. I'm just, there's probably somebody who's called you a little Weasley fucking piece of garbage. So there, I agree with them entirely. You're a lying Weasley piece of human garbage. Experiment you do. 0 to 50 will not consume 25 times the fuel than 0 to 10. And you're an idiot, of course. Yeah, so there, I said, go ahead, do the experiment either way. 0 to 50 will not use 25 times the fuel. It's not going to happen. All right, so he says, it's no wonder everything you say sounds like gibberish to you. Everything they say, yes, of course. I mean, it's just, what's this horse shit? Again, this is theories existed for 350 years. Leibniz had no evidence. Deschardelet had a fake, flat earther experiment. And what else do they have?
I've heard the name Leibniz before.
So again, he has no clue. I've heard it. I have a vague reference to it. Yeah, he's the guy who tried to get Newton censored. Because Newton was a threat to civilization. A terrible threat to our social structure. That's the shit he wrote about Newton. And he's supposed to be the guy who also invented calculus, and he still doesn't know who he is. He obviously he didn't also invent it. He obviously just did exactly what he did about everything he talked about, which was he stole other people's research. That's all he ever did. He was a paper collector. He was constantly investigating what everybody else was doing.
I don't really remember. The other name, I don't think I've ever really heard of it.
Oh, okay, so this is a physicist. He doesn't know two of the most famous people in the history of the energy theory of physics. So one of the most important subjects in physics, energy, and he doesn't know the two icons of the modern perspective.
Just want to stress again, that's not science.
Okay, so amazing. It's not science. To go look at the origin of an idea, that's not science. I don't know why they bother then. Why do we talk about Rutherford, and why do we talk about all of these people and their innovation? Why do we give Nobel Prizes? Why bother?
History. That's why when you hear somebody like this talking about how they think science is a religion, it's revealing that...
Yes, it's proving. Okay, I say it, and then he responds and proves that he is a religious nut, because I keep saying, where's your evidence? And he keeps saying, didn't we show it to you?
That's how they approach it. They're approaching it as a religion. They'll, read these old books and talk about old experiments that they don't...
Oh, I mean, amazing, right? So we shouldn't talk about Archimedes. We shouldn't talk about the logic he used to discover a truth. All of that isn't interesting physics. Yeah, it is.
And they usually follow it up with the just insane statement, no one's ever repeated that. No one's ever tried that again.
Well, it's a fact. Gee, isn't that interesting that they would say something that's an absolute fact? Yeah. Wow. How, that's just such profound evidence against them, the fact that they're telling the truth.
And the truth is, if you look, it's hard to find. It's hard to find examples where people are doing these experiments.
Okay, so you're conceding the point that, well, should it really be hard? I mean, couldn't you just say, yeah, I agree, it really shouldn't be hard to find the evidence. There should be a lot of it. I should be able to put car crash proving kinetic energy into Google, and I should come up with a ton of results. And I don't come up with any. That's your physics.
That's because they're trivial experiments at this point.
Oh, brother.
Right? The first one who did it, yeah, they're famous. Right? They were famous at the time, at least.
So again, the Eddington experiment never successfully repeated from the bounds of Earth past the margin of error. and never attempted from space. And the original experiment, the guy says in his own journal, I wouldn't stake my life on these results because the results were so bad.
But now it's boring. We just do it in the classroom. It's just a classroom experiment now. It's not exciting.
Oh, whatever. I mean, it's just amazing that morons like this teach. Amazing.
Right? Because it's not a religion. These are not deities.
It's all faith-based. There's no belief by evidence. There's no fair trial that their science won.
Right? Newton is not a deity. His writing is not the Bible. It's
just the laws. Okay. My mistake. Just hilarious. I mean, it's hilarious, right? Don't take Newton seriously.
it's historical and interesting.
He only did all of the experiments, right? Let's just understand, Newton spent his entire life, every day there was an experiment going on. Every fucking day of his life.
From a historical standpoint, and it gave us a lot to work from, and we've continued working from that.
Yeah, no, you're not working from that. You're, again, stomping on the shoulders of giants, pissing on their heads.
And we build upon it, right? We build upon it, and we don't read quotes from Newton's Principia. Is it Principia? Is it Principia?
Oh, brother. So somehow we're not supposed to read quotes from Newton? That's not good science? To recognize that Newton did all of the experiments and had good reason and was very careful about what he said.
I've heard it both ways. We don't quote from that. The thing's written in Latin.
All right, so we don't bother. We don't bother doing any investigating to why the idea was injected into physics. We just get busy shenanigans proof of the crap. Not real evidence. Junk. Deschartolate. Look it up, fucker.
It's in Latin. So, no, we don't do that. We teach the modern
it's in
version.
Latin, so that means we can't read it because nobody can translate it into English. Just like you can't convert a Newton into a joule, and you can't convert Latin into English. Can't be done.
Of where we are today.
What's the other experiment? What experimental evidence proves the existence of kinetic energy? That's right.
I don't know. Go to the racetrack.
I don't know. Go to a racetrack. That's his answer. So a racetrack will show us when the cars are going around the track at 200 miles an hour. They're going to be using like 9 million gallons of gasoline per mile by the kinetic energy theory. I mean, it really is going to be an right? It's going to be an extraordinarily huge amount, right? If it's 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast for 10 miles an hour, that's 20 times as fast. So it's, it's 100 for 10. So it's going to be something like 400. They're using 400 times more fuel. Yeah, I don't think they have infinitely sized gas tanks.
Right. And go to the racetrack. Ask the car guys how much.
Amazing. So he really thinks that the car guys are going to say, "Oh yeah, man, every mile kills you." Especially after 100, go above 100, it starts multiplying. The squared function, the quadratic function's kicking in. Oh, and it's just getting monstrous. And there's no way we can go any faster because we can't get a truck big enough to run behind the car refueling it. Oh man, what a moron! I mean, it was good he ended on something so profoundly idiotic. Go ask a race car driver. Again, go ask a bowler throwing a 16-pound ball. Why aren't you... It's twice as much energy if you throw the light ball, buddy. Yeah, he doesn't think so.
Horsepower is this thing. What's your 0 to 60? What's your 60 to 100? right? They know.
Oh, okay, so again, he's just talking as if they did the experiment. There's no experiment. There's no absolutely zero evidence, and he's saying, "Go look at the evidence that doesn't exist." I mean, just amazing. So if we just go ask boulders if they think the 8-pound ball has twice the energy, and they all say, "Fuck no," then we have the answer, and we don't need to do any more investigating. We have the answer for physics. Fuck no, that'll be the answer. The experts say so.
These things, they understand why. Why is it easier to go 0 to 60 than 60 to 100? Why is it so hard to get to 200 miles an hour? Is it
so
just
he keeps
because of
pretending
aerodynamics?
that it's the other way around. No, it's what's the easy part? What are you talking about? You already conceded the only thing in the way is air resistance and friction. Now the cars are made to be aerodynamic, so we know that's not as big a factor anymore.
Or is there maybe something else at play? Something about horsepower. I mean, we haven't even talked.
So again, more nonsense about the source of your motion rather than the fact of using more fuel. So again, he's just ignoring the subject entirely. Demonstrate that it takes 25 times the rubber bands. Show, it doesn't matter what the fuel is.
About power. We haven't even talked about power yet. What is power? How does power fit into this? Yeah, I mean, because...
So again, just evasion. Disgusting.
You don't know. You don't know any of that stuff, but...
Yeah, we do know that stuff. We know how air pressure works, so if we use a cork gun, we're not going to be able to contrive this kinetic energy crap, this 25 times, because it ain't going to happen. We use gears to throw it. Well, gears are like pulleys. They conserve momentum, so that's not going to work.
It's well known, well understood.
All right, so there's just...
Don't know.
He's just such a liar. It's well known. It's well understood. It's not well evidenced. That's the argument. Is it well evidenced? No, it's not.
Don't know. You don't know any of that stuff, but it's well known, well understood. You go to the racetrack. Those guys all know.
There isn't one. Fuck. Go to the racetrack. That's what he said. I mean, it's just amazing. Go to the racetrack and find out how onerous it is to get up to 200 miles an hour. How much fuel you have to use. I just hate this planet. Sucky, pukey humans. Yuck. They're all religious kooks.
Okay, so that's that. Let me sum it up. It's been a really long video. I don't know. I may edit it down a little bit. Just trying something new. Don't have the energy to do a proper...
Yeah, you don't really have any energy to do what science requires. I mean, it is a trial. You have to really make arguments, and you really have to present evidence. That's your obligation. That's part of what it is, to have a discussion and an argument, and to weed through the weeds, and find the facts. And you have no interest in doing what's required. You don't want to put your boots on. You don't want to put your gloves on. You don't want to do a damn thing that science requires. Good science. Scientists all the time in the past, that's another thing history shows you. All the time we're throwing ideas back and forth, arguing ideas. You people don't have any capacity to do it at all. You just say, my religion is the religion, and that's it. The end of the conversation. We say so. That's all you do.
Prepared video with slides. My usual, slides and actual teaching of actual concepts.
Yeah, well, just do the lever, okay? Just show us the diagram of the nice lever. You're going to put an impulse, mass, and velocity in one side, and you're going to get an impulse, mass, and velocity on the other side. Make it a 2-to-1 relationship. 1 unit of distance, 2 mass on one side, 1 mass, 2 units of distance on the other side, and prove to us that kinetic energy is conserved and momentum is completely fucking destroyed. Because that's what you're claiming.
if anybody really wants yet another video on kinetic energy and momentum and that sort of thing, yeah, I could do that. If anybody wants to get together and like, come up with ways to do experiments on this, I could, at least when summer comes. Right now, in the middle of the semester.
When summer comes, I think winter's coming here. I didn't know he's Australian or something. I don't know.
I'm busy, super busy. So just had time to make this, sit down and just watch this video and talk about it. Yeah, let's hear in the comments your thoughts if you have them. This is not. I don't.
Look, and fundamentally, what am I arguing for? More evidence, more experiments, right? I'm pleading. Yes, please. More better experiments. Yeah, not matchbook car experiments, not little metal wheel experiments. Better experiments.
I don't need to tell you all this. If you're somebody who watches my videos, I don't want you to go to this guy's channel, frankly, at all. Don't go there and feed the troll. But certainly, don't be rude, right? There's no reason to be rude.
Oh, so the other guy, that guy's comment wasn't rude, and it was only not rude because he didn't say fuckhead. But if he says shithead or he says whatever, idiot head, that's okay. So it's just Mr. Rogers' neighborhood again. Yeah, they're the word police.
There's an example of where that leads. So that's why this is going up on my channel at all. Is contrast. This isn't how you treat people, right?
This isn't science. That's the real point. It's this. There's no science in his science, none. So it's sitting there right behind him. 25 times the fuel does not equal 5 times the velocity. It's just absolute bullshit. It equals 25 times the velocity. Newton said it clearly. So again, he doesn't want anybody to quote from Newton, but Newton said it. Twice the force, twice the motion. 3 times the force, 3 times the motion. Not 3 times the force, 9 times the motion, and not 9 times the force for 3 times the motion.
The way draft physics treats this subject and treats anyone who interacts with.
Oh, that's just all not true, right? So 99% of my video content is just me drawing a physics argument. And the fact is, over 10 years, not one of you weaselly lying pieces of suck scientists has had the integrity to counter any of my arguments. This being an example, right? You're not playing my usual physics video. You're playing a response video.
On the subject. It's gotten to the point where this is why he's on the internet. He's on the internet to find people to yell at.
Whatever. Yeah, right. Yes, I'm arguing. That's what I've done all my whole life. Yes, is I'm arguing with idiots. I think it's the responsible thing to do. I think idiots and liars are a menace to human civilization, so I will argue with them. And you're certainly in that category. Moronic idiot. Talking shit.
There is no discourse to be had.
That's your choice. Again, if you're scared of the boogie words, ooh, the hobgoblins might get me in my sleep. Ooh, I'm a scaredy. Go ahead and be afraid. I don't care. That just shows you have no character. Nobody would give a shit. Like I said, what scientist would care whether the guy making the argument has a tweed coat or a coat made out of hemp or a coat made out of dog shit? Who cares? Let's hear what he has to say. That's what they'd say. So you're just proving you have no interest in this subject of resolving what are obviously Steve Mould called it a paradox, for fuck's sake. At least he acknowledged that it seems paradoxical because you have a real problem conserving both of these things. I mean, you're just such a weasel.
He's like a Nathan Oakley, right? He's like Nathan Oakley on the
Whatever that is. So you're just like a flat earther. So it's just right back to Professor Lewin, calling electric boom a flat earther. I mean, it's just amazing bullshit.
instead of flat Earth, he's going for kinetic energy, right? Whatever, right? Or
yeah, he's going for a myth that you have never researched, that you have no idea what the history of it is and why it exists at all as a formula. No idea whatsoever. Do you know that Thomas Young was the first person to use the word energy in a public statement?
or John Mandelbauer with his angular momentum, right? Lots of people have this sort of approach to the world, and yeah.
So he's just pretending that the man, him, who hasn't done any research, doesn't even know what bowling is, doesn't know that it's a collision experiment. He should tell people. It is just it's so ironic.
I do think there's an opportunity here to think about what does it mean to be a good person. I give that a thought. I'd love to hear comments.
Yeah, honesty would have something to do with it. Oh, I just wish there was a God.
Interesting philosophical discussion.
I wish, because I would sell my right arm to the God and say, okay, you can pull my arm off. Give him what he deserves. Because this fucking shit-talking liar to sit there and talk about what it is to be a human being, what it is to be a decent person, when he just sat there for 2 hours and did nothing but fucking lie. It's disgusting.
Discussion sometime. Maybe if a bunch of us ever get free time to do a live together, maybe we can talk about what does it mean to be a good person.
Oh, disgusting.
Does lying indicate that you're a bad person? That's something that you'd think was non-controversial, but maybe it's not so simple.
It's just amazing. I mean, it is just amazing. So where is my lie? Where did I lie somewhere, you fucking ragged piece of fucking four-eyed moronic crap? You little nerdy piece of Mr. Rogers poo. Oh, fuck you. God, what a despicable little weasel.
Maybe it's not as simple as that. Does being angry and hateful make you a
so good people should love bad people. No, I don't think that's the way it should be, right? It should be deserved. It should be reward and punishment. Shitheads should get what they fucking goddamn deserve, and I hope you get what you deserve. You fucking weasel.
bad person? Does spreading anger and hate...
Yeah, does spreading lies and deception and weaselly religions, should that be a no harm, no foul crime? No, it shouldn't be.
And vitriol to others is going online and spreading hate, trying to stir up hate. Does that make you a bad person? What makes a good person? Is it what is it? And is it the same thing?
Yes, the same definition. Okay, it's just I'm just saying that everything you said in this video, you didn't make a single sentence that had something to do with real science and the process of showing evidence. So there's just nothing, absolutely nothing. You're just a terrible liar that you did anything to convince a reasonable person who doesn't believe in this.
For everyone, is that a universal concept, or is it based on our individual sense of morality and all of that? Interesting questions. What is the appropriate way to respond to this kind of hate?
Evidence.
That we've just
evidence.
The
evidence.
kind of hate that I just shared with all you guys.
Evidence.
What is the correct way to respond?
Evidence.
I've always tried
evidence.
patient
Evidence.
explanations,
Evidence.
open-minded interaction.
Evidence. How to prove somebody wrong. Evidence.
ready to take on their ideas and really give them a good try. Like, what if kinetic energy doesn't work? I'll start you right off. Then that spring experiment. Like that.
Okay, so this is the joke, right? What if it doesn't work and I just did a 2-hour video propping it up, claiming it's real when it's not? Whoa, that's a gigantic mistake, isn't it? Oh, hilarious. Oh yes, you're a great scientist. This is how wishy-washy it is. I just went through all this bullshit saying you must believe because we've proven it decisively and there's no reason for any reasonable person to doubt what we've proven. And then he's claiming, what if we're wrong? You're not supposed to be saying what if you're wrong if you've decisively proven. I'm confident because I've seen enough evidence. And you haven't done anything. You haven't done any research on the subject whatsoever. But you're an expert.
Spring experiment that you mentioned and the one that I mentioned, those are great ways to test this.
So again, I did mention that I made a spring video that points out that spring experiments are really dangerous. They're just like the gun. You do the experiment one way, you get 4 joules. You do the experiment another way, you get 2,000 joules. You do the experiment another way, you get 4,000 joules. That's not a great thing. Yeah, no, it's not a great thing when your measured quantity keeps changing.
That should be the end of the conversation.
Your rulers all don't agree. That's when you're in trouble. When the rulers don't agree, that's when you're in trouble.
We should do that experiment and then be the end of the conversation. I'll give you a second one. The regenerative braking or
Oh, okay. I mean, this is just baby talk. Regenerative braking is insanely complicated. You have the surface of the road, the surface of the tire, the width of the tire, the material that the brake pad is made out of. I mean, it's just idiotic to sit there and say you can account for all those variables. And I'm saying it's fine with me. Like I said, I don't think the experiment will come out any other way than, the truth. There's not going to be some 25 times the energy created by the recessive braking. It's not going to. The generator is not going to sit there and say it's 25 times the energy. So it's not going to be a problem. But I'm just saying ahead of time, it should be known that that's the least valid way to measure the phenomenon because of the number of variables.
Accelerating in a car, an electric car, would be decent ways perhaps to look into that. I'm a little nervous about the acceleration one because okay, where was I?
Yeah, the acceleration one because acceleration's tricky. Like, you can't just put the pedal to the floor, right? You can't overstress the motor, so you obviously have to accelerate at some rate that's, reasonable. But the bottom line is you're never going to get a number anywhere close to 25. You're going to get a number really close to 5.
I was saying the acceleration question, the experiment of doing acceleration in an electric car. A little nervous about that one just because of the sheer amount of power that a modern electric car has. Maybe in the Prius. I was just driving a Prius earlier today. I got a Prius. I got a Tesla. In the Prius, the power
that
is so
says a lot
low
right there, don't it?
that we could do that. I mean, that would be very reasonable to do, like maximum acceleration rate from say 5 to 10 miles an hour, and then do that again, 10 to 15, do 15 to 20, all under pure electric power.
Why wouldn't you just do 0 to 10 and 0 to 20 and 0 to 30 and 0 to 40 and 0 to 50? Why complicate it?
And with the maximum power output, electric power output that the Prius can do, you could graph that, right? We graph that. That's pretty good. But if we tried that with the Tesla, we'd be spinning. Well, I guess it's got the traction limited. Maybe it's not going to spin, but now it's not pushing its full power, right? You're tire limited for those lower speeds. You could do it at higher speeds, perhaps. But yeah.
So why would you? Why would you bother accelerating any faster than you have to? It doesn't matter as long as you're not wasting energy. So anything under the tire spinning, any rate of acceleration doesn't matter. The rate of acceleration isn't going to create waste. It only creates waste when you're accelerating faster than your friction will allow you to absorb the motion. You'll waste it as heat and friction and rubber wear and all that. So just accelerate at some moderate speed where you're not going to waste any of the energy. Not that complicated.
The experiment.
It doesn't matter whether you take a half second to get up to 10 miles an hour and you take a full 10 seconds to get up to 50. It doesn't matter. You're just saying, what does it take to get the car to that velocity? That's all that matters. And you're just trying to do it without wasting any energy.
That draft physics suggests of like drain the battery, right? Or like measure how much battery you used in doing something. These batteries are huge. It would take quite a lot to make a visible dent in the battery. Maybe, I don't watch it while I'm driving very often, so maybe the power bar on the display would show us how much power we're using, and we could just film.
So he didn't even bother reading the manual of his own electric car. But yeah, I never said anything about the battery. I just said, go ahead and measure how much energy you used. You could just put a, you could put a little bicycle turbine on the wheel and see how much electricity you'll generate. Because the truth is, it's the same thing. It's not gonna be 25 times the electricity.
It's worth a try. But what I had mentioned was that I do notice the regenerative braking bar. There's a little bar on the display that shows how much power you're regenerating. This is true of the Prius. It's also true in the Tesla. All
right, so we have no information about how reliable any of that is, when it kicks in, when it kicks off, right? I mean, obviously some things don't work unless it hits a minimum voltage. But anyway, it's still, go ahead, do that, and I'm still going to argue you're never going to be anywhere close to 25 to 5. Not anywhere close.
What I've noticed is that at high speeds, that bar jumps right up. Just the slightest amount of regenerative braking, you can max it.
Yeah, five times. 5 times is a lot. Five of something is a lot more of something. 25 is insipid. So go ahead and show me that it jumped 25 times.
Out your regeneration. But then as you slow down and slow down and slow down, it gets to the point where...
Yeah, guess what? I mean, everybody should be able to understand this little thing. But, just to save money, they're not going to convert the regenerative braking into the voltage necessary to recharge the battery. So if the battery is recharged at 40 volts, then any voltage created lower than 40 they can't use. It can't go into the battery, obviously. So it's only when they reach 40 volts do you start recharging the battery, because they're not going to put it through a rectifier and create another source of heat and expense to collect a minor amount of regenerative braking. So at slow speeds you're not going to have any regenerative braking, because they're not going to convert 5 volts into 50 volts. Because first, it's really wasteful, you lose half the energy, and second, it's expensive, and third, it's one more thing to go wrong in your car. So why would you put another part on your car that you don't need to go to fail? So it's obviously that the regenerative braking only works at a pretty high minimum velocity, and it doesn't work at all at low velocities. Recharging batteries isn't uncomplicated.
Where you're slowing down pretty aggressively, and yet you're not generating any power. And yeah, I think that'd be a really interesting thing to look at if there was any honest curiosity.
Okay, so again, it just keeps saying nobody wants to see the experiment. Nobody is interested in experiments. Nobody wants them. Nobody pleads for them. Everybody hates experiments. So yeah, let's not bother doing experiments because nobody wants to see one. That's what he's arguing. That somehow, especially this channel, is arguing against experiments. Oh, yes, it's so preciously evil.
About this topic. That's what you do, right? Okay, so yeah, let's leave it there. I don't know. I mean, honestly, this is kind of why I've more or less...
Good, yes, you're a coward, that's why. Yes, you can't defend your physics, so now you just run away. We get it. We've been there and seen that.
Stop doing these videos. Part number one, I'm very busy with school. But part number two is what I've learned through all this is that people...
Nobody likes Mr. Rogers' physics hood. Yeah, that's what you've learned, right? Yeah, maybe you do real physics instead of cotton candy physics.
People don't want evidence. They don't want the truth.
Oh, whoa, what a liar. You don't have the truth because the truth requires you to have an argument and evidence. You have neither logic on your side or physical evidence on your side. That's your failure.
Truth. They don't want evidence. They don't want to talk about it.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, there's just no point, right? It's all I've talked about for 10 years is evidence, experimental evidence. The absolute void that exists. The fact that Feynman couldn't even draw a double-slit experiment correctly to save his fucking life. He's supposed to be an expert on the experiment, and he draws absolute slop. Doesn't have a damn thing to do with what really happens.
They don't want to have a conversation about things. For the most part, they just want to yell.
Oh, so more wasted time. Like I said, all of the videos on my website, you show me where there's a bunch of yelling going on. Those are all just yelling videos. Fuck you.
They just want to yell at someone and call them names and say that they're bad people.
Well, you proved it, so I'm just saying there's just no argument. You proved you're just a pathetic liar. You're pretending that you've made an argument, that you've been persuasive, that no reasonable person could deny the evidence you produced. It's a slam dunk. You haven't done anything. Nothing.
Yeah, and there you have it. This is an example, I would say the quintessential, typical example of the sort of person...
Yes, so he's going to call me a flat earther again. Yeah, fuck you, weasel.
Who is quick to engage with my material. Material I haven't touched quite a while. This comes out of the blue.
Well, why should you have to touch it? What? It changes every 4 years? I am the one with the draft science channel name. I'm doing the draft work of correcting your mistakes. So I can make mistakes. Your physics has had 350 years to fix your mistakes. Why haven't you fixed them? Why is it draft work?
Who comes at you with this sort of bile, this vitriol?
Questions like, well, the kinetic energy says the 8-pound ball has twice the energy. Does it knock down twice the pins? There's actually a physicist who wrote a book that says it does. He's advising bowlers that they really should go to lighter balls. I mean, it's just totally shit science. It won't work. And yet he's advising people to do it.
So, that's kind of why I don't do it anymore. Okay, maybe someday I'll do some more. If anybody has something they particularly would like covered or would find interesting, happy to do that.
So he's an expert on nothing. He probably can do some mathematics, but he clearly doesn't know anything about any of these subjects because he never researched any of the history of any of these subjects. He doesn't know who Rutherford is. Who I've heard that name. Yeah, it's just some guy who what he played with radioactive things or something. Maybe I don't know. Some kind of thing like that.
I don't know when school's out, maybe in the summer again. So okay, I'll see you guys out there. Be nice down in the comments. You know the rules.
So I guess he is Australian. I guess, right? It's got to be somewhere on the other side of the earth. Yeah, right.
This person is unlikely to be allowed to comment. I mean, he's not banned, but if he comments...
Oh, okay, but if I do comment, you will ban me. I'm so excited about making a comment. It'd be so much fun to write more crap about nothing. Amazing. Yeah, obviously I make videos. That's my preference, is to make arguments and draw it. It's so much better to draw it than do word problems. So much better.
In any kind of way like what we saw in this video, that's not allowed, right? Name calling is...
Again, I don't care. You can just keep saying that's all my videos are, and it's just a lie again. Everyone on the website, go to the website, play the fucking video, and then show us how it's just terrible that you maligned and said horrible things. Fuck you. My horrible thing is to say I disagree. That's my crime against you. And that's it. The rest of it is superfluous and irrelevant. You can't deal with disagreement.
It's explicitly not allowed. So I'll remind you all of that. It's not about that. Okay. See you guys when I'm back someday.
Run away! Run away! Run away! Run away! Run away!
In 2024, the government raised a total of $5 trillion from all of its sources, from income taxes, payroll taxes, corporate taxes, estate and gift taxes. They took in $5 trillion.
Why is this still playing?
But the country had expenses of about $6.8 trillion, so there was a shortfall of $1.8 trillion.
I've closed the windows.
And, of course, that $1.8 trillion was added to this.
Oh, there, she finally shut up on her own. Yes, and we bailed out the banks. Gave them $7 trillion. We took the rich people who were going to lose all their shirts, and we gave them $7 trillion by insuring their junk bonds. Worthless stocks. We guaranteed the stocks. They're worthless. And in a crisis, they can show up with that worthless crap and say, we want our money. $7 trillion worth. And now there's $6 trillion in the Federal Reserve that's borrowed money to buy our own bonds. So right there's $12 trillion, and that's not even the actual deficit. That's on top of the actual deficit. I mean, when it crashes, it's going to be a spectacular crash. $1, you're not going to get, $1 is going to be worth one millionth of a penny. Yeah, something like that. For everybody to get what they think they're entitled to, that's how much $1 will be worth. Alright, so enough of the video. Yeah, we're done, right? Okay, I can get the hell out of here. So, we hit the stop button, and then we're done, right? That's good physics. Stop usually means we're finished. No more. Done. Finished. Stopping now.